Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Yeah, just tell us where you're calling from, what organization you're from, your name. I think it'll be really great to see who's in the room with us. And while we're doing that and waiting for a few people to come in, also, if you could put your answer to this question, we're just really keen to hear from you. What do you believe is the biggest untapped opportunity for impact investing in Africa and why? So as we're just waiting for a few people to come in, please do feel free to put your answers in the chat and introduce yourself. Great, thank you. Sana Olo from Pretoria, Robin Peterson, really good to have you both here. Yeah, please feel free to share what you think is the biggest untapped opportunity for impact investing in Africa and why. Hi, Kate, good to have you join us. Prayer, here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, please do put your response in the chat. While we're doing that, I'm actually going to ask my co-convener, Shuluba, what do you believe is the biggest untapped opportunity for impact investing in Africa?
Sure, Jason. So Jason's really putting me on the spot. I probably need to think a bit. Yeah, it's probably a couple of opportunities that I think are hugely untapped on the continent. We know by 2050, we'll have the biggest workforce will be on the continent. And so I don't know how well we're including young people into the impact investing conversation and seeing where the opportunity is there. That's the first. I do think there's a lot more education that needs to happen in the market. We're still the only impact investing course on the continent. And so I think the more people are educated around what impact investing is, there is an opportunity there. I do think there are a number of incredible foundations, for example, operating across the continent, and a lot of them are having to think around like sustainability in light of the new environment and the new landscape. So I do think impact investing is an interesting opportunity for them. Currently, we don't have enough retail products focused around impact investing. And so thinking around, if we think, I think on the continent, there's a lot of like stokvels, chamas in some markets. How do we get interesting products that really are impact focused, and what do those look like? So those are just a couple. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Jason. It's forcing me to think. I'd be keen to see what else is in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not seeing too much in the chat, but yeah, also like it is quite an interesting question. Also myself like reflecting on it, thinking about impact investing and how we're going to try and mobilize more capital for impact. And particularly on the African continent, so obviously with the shift with aid funding, I think local capital is definitely an opportunity to grow impact investing on the continent. So how are we getting more local capital in, like you said, from foundations, from high net worth individuals that are on the continent as well, some of those corporates, commercial spaces. How do you start unlocking that local capital to grow impact investing on the continent? I think that's also interesting one. I agree with you. Also, the youth, like the workforce by 2050 in majority be on the African continent. There's, I think, a lot of opportunities for investing in youth on the continent. But it is a very interesting question. Yeah, so thanks as well for thinking on the spots as well, Shaluba. So feel free to add in the chat if if something comes up as you're going through the presentation. We'd love to hear from you what you believe is the untapped opportunities for impact investing on the African continent and why. So what this session looks like today is that I will get us kick-started. So my name is Jason van Staden. If you don't know who I am, and I'm a co-convener on the Impact Investing in Africa course along with Shaluba Mawela from Shiamo Impact. And yeah, I'm a project manager for the Innovative Finance team at the Bertha Centre. And so a lot of our work in the Innovative Finance team at the Bertha Centre revolves around how do you build the impact investing ecosystem, how do we pilot new financial instruments and mechanisms, how do we convene different players in the ecosystem, and also what research and knowledge can we develop that is actually going to unlock more impact capital for social enterprises and social innovations and projects on the African continent. And so, yeah, this has been a co-convener on the course with Shaluba now for about 3 years. And it's just been an incredible journey. And yeah, just this course, as we go through some of the information around the course, meet such incredible, amazing people. You're going to meet one of our fantastic alumni today as well. And just seeing how this course changes lives. It does change lives, not only in the individuals that join the course, but for other vulnerable communities and individuals on the continent, that there's a lot of social need and a lot of need for impact capital. And through our alumni, we're able to create social change through the deployment of finance in some of the key areas. And so for me, that's incredibly rewarding just to see how through our alumni, we're able to create impact on the African continent. And we're hoping that a lot of you on the call today are going to be our alumni in the next 2 months or so, and you yourself will go on to create incredible impact on the African continent. And so, yeah, I'll just give you a brief intro into the course, what to expect, some of the key highlights from the course, the timetable, what you can look forward to during the week. On the course, some of the content we're going to cover, and then I'll hand over to Taryn, who's with the Executive Education at the Graduate School of Business. And she's going to walk you through how to go about applying for the course and what is necessary and what is the process to be put onto the course. And then we'll have Ntando, who's going to join us. She's an alumni from the 2023 cohort, and she's going to share her story about what the course has done for her and how it's really opened up a new world for her. I think it's really great to hear some of these stories because, yeah, I'm really hoping that the next story is going to be one of you who's on the call. And then after that, if there's any questions and answers, feel free to engage. Please also engage in the chat throughout as well. So what is the Impact Investing in Africa course? So it's an in-person specialized short course that aims to equip attendees with knowledge and skills to invest resources to generate both positive social and environmental impacts and financial return. So when we speak about impact investing, it is essentially looking at intentionally deploying capital to create positive social and environmental return. And so traditionally, investors have just sought financial return, but more and more we are starting to see that you can both invest with a financial return lens, but also a positive social impact lens. And there isn't this trade-off between the two. You can achieve both. And so it's so important that we start shifting that, what we call like a myth around that there's a trade-off between the two, but you can actually do both and you need to be doing both. And so that is really what we're trying to do with this course, is to create that space and environment where we equipping the attendees with knowledge around what it actually looks like to be investing with both a social and financial lens in your deployment of capital. And so this is also the only impact investing course with the African focus on the continent. So it is one of the big things that we are really excited about, is that we are really the only course of this type on the continent. And I think it's really important for us as the African continent, given where we are and the social needs that are on the continent, that there is a high need for us to actually be doing impact investing and doing it with the African focus and lens and context as well. So it's really incredible that we get to bring that lens and focus with this course. And it's also accredited by the University of Cape Town. So through the Executive Education short courses, you're able to get a certificate that is accredited by UCT. The course has been running for over 8 years and has over 400 alumni. So we've got a really great alumni WhatsApp group and LinkedIn group. Very active, always sharing opportunities, sharing insights, sharing knowledge, opening doors for collaboration, even way after the course. And so we've really got a strong alumni network, and it's really one of the biggest benefits of the course, beyond the incredible content that you go through during the week, is the relationships you form and get to engage in after the course as well. And so this is our cohort from last year. We had around 35 attendees last year, all from a whole lot of different backgrounds, but all with that same mind shift and focus to try and create impact on the African continent. So when is it happening this year? It's happening on the 8th of September to the 12th of September. And it happens from Monday to Friday. And it starts at 9 o'clock and it finishes at 5 o'clock. With the exception of Friday. Friday we finish a little bit earlier just to give people a chance if they need to catch flights back home. And also we know Friday, you've got to finish early on Friday. I mean, by that time we're also quite tired. I think the group's quite tired because we go through a lot of content. But yeah, so that's the only day where we really finish a little bit earlier. It will be at the Graduate School of Business at the University of Cape Town. There's pictures to the left you can see. So it's by the old Breakwater prison, which is really great if you haven't been there before, just to see, yeah, what this like castle looking like campus looks like. And it doesn't, I promise you it's not a prison. It has a nice feel to it. You can get lost in it, but it is really just a nice experience to be there as well. The price for the course is 18,375 Rand, and the deadline for application is next week, Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So please, if you are on the fence joining this call, yeah, there's not much time left, but really hoping that after this call, you'll feel like you have enough information to make an informed decision about whether you should come to the course or not. And yeah, please do try to get those applications in as soon as possible. It'll just make it a bit easier for our team to process all the paperwork and the payments and that, to make sure that it's a smooth process for both you, but also for us in planning for the course. So what can you expect from the course? As I said in the intro, really looking to build a lot of knowledge. So there's a lot of knowledge, jam-packed knowledge within the course. So Bertha Centre sits quite nicely in that we are a knowledge builder. We do a lot of research and produce a lot of knowledge products. And so what we do is, when we are doing that, we bring a lot of that and we bring it into the course. So every year, the course is different. Every year there's a new aspect and dimension to the course, because the impact investing ecosystem and innovative finance ecosystem as a whole is ever evolving. And we are at the forefront of that. So we're able to bring that into the program. So you know that you are getting some of the best content that there is out there. And we engage with industry leaders. We've got a broad network. And so we bring a lot of incredible people to come and speak on the course and share on some of the amazing work they're doing. And then you get to engage with them. And so many times we've seen our alumni go and build business partnerships with some of those leaders and speakers that come onto the course. Connect with like-minded professionals. Yeah, people who are coming to the impact investing course are really looking to see how they can create a social impact on the continent, how to make a difference. And they want to do that in their different professions. And so you get to connect with like-minded people and build incredible relationships based on that foundation. Regional best practice. Yeah, as I mentioned, the nature of where we sit as Bertha Centre, we are connected with a lot of the people, the key players within the impact investing ecosystem on the continent. So we are the Secretariat for Impact Invest in South Africa, and we speak a lot with the other partners in Ghana, Kenya, Zambia, the national partners for impact investing from the global steering group. And so we bring best practices from all over the continent, and we share that within the course as well. You also learn a lot around practical tools, and then you also gain valuable insights as well. So a lot to expect, a lot of incredible things to look forward to. As I've mentioned previously, we have a lot of great industry leaders come through, and they form part of our guest speaker cohort. And yeah, they just come and share some of their knowledge, provide some of their expertise. And then we've also got amazing conveners. So myself and Shaluba, like we said, we've been doing this for 3 years together, but Shaluba has been, we actually share, but later she's been an alumni on the course as well for years, actually, so quite a long time. So she was at one of the very first iterations of the course in the first few years, and yeah, she's just an incredible speaker, and she's doing amazing work in the impact investing space. So what's included? You get 2 teas daily, you get a lunch as well, and so you'll be well fed. You don't have to worry throughout the week, you'll be well fed with great food. We have not had any complaints about the food, only good things. And we also have 2 events for you throughout the week. We have an opening cocktail evening on the Monday where you get some light snacks and drinks. Just a great way for you to network with those who are on the course and also speakers. And then we also have a prize giving ceremony at the end of the week where we also provide some light snacks and drinks as well. You get access to all the course content. So we have an online learning management system and a lot of slides. We provide you with all that content, even from the guest speakers as well. You get a UCT accredited course certificate once you complete the course. And of course, the biggest thing is you get endless memories, connections, and opportunities. So you really do make friendships that really stand the test of time. Like, I mean, there are so many alumni who are not only working together, but they have created really special friendships through the course. So what's not included, we do not cover the flights to come down to Cape Town if you're joining us from outside of Cape Town. We also do not cover the accommodation, but Breakwater Protea Lodge, the hotel that is located on the Graduate School of Business property, we do have preferential rates for you if you are joining for the course. So please do reach out to us if you are interested in making use of those preferential rates for the hotel. We also do not provide transport to and from the venue, and any other additional activities that you want to do while you're in Cape Town, we do not cover those costs as well. So that is a lot of the course information. I'm going to quickly jump into the timetable just to give you a little bit of a sense of what to expect content-wise throughout the week. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So on Monday, we really start the week off by laying the foundation, looking at impact investing landscape and some of the themes of impact. We start the morning by first doing some introductions just so you can get a sense of who's in the room. And then we try to just get through some of what are the key definitions. So we all start on the same page. So we look at what is impact investing, what is innovative finance, what is some of the instruments like grants, equity, debts, technical assistance, all these terms that is often used within the space. We go through what are those definitions, and we also have a bit of a discussion around that. We then go into looking at what is the landscape of impact investing from a global perspective. And we'll have Dean Hand from the Global Impact Investing Network joining us for that. And then we'll also go into a bit of a discussion around what is the landscape and what are some of the emerging themes of impact investing, followed by the landscape of impact investing from an Africa perspective. So what do we see and happen on the African continent? And then we'll go through themes of impact, looking at some of the themes around education, housing, climate, fintech. So we look at what are some of the themes that you can experience when making impact investments. Then, as I mentioned, we would have that network welcome event in the evening. Day 2, we start looking at, okay, you know the foundations of impact investing, then how do you start thinking around developing an impact investing strategy? And leading on to that, we also talk around some of the best practices in impact investing, which is obviously going to inform your strategy. And then we also look at different innovative finance instruments that you can use throughout your journey. Lastly, in the afternoon, we go through what is catalytic capital. And catalytic capital, we just concluded a course on catalytic capital. It was yesterday as Bertha Centre. And so you'll get a taste of that course as well. So that course is also a paid course. So you're going to get a bit of that content that is also shared within this Impact Invest in Africa course. On Wednesday, we start diving into how do you build out impact investing portfolio? What does that look like? And then we're also going to look at how you can create a fund, and particularly an impact fund, and what are some of the processes you need to think around for that. Then we start going into, in the afternoons on Wednesday and Thursday, we go into a bit of a deep dive into some of the specific themes. So we'll look at gender and systems lens investing. We'll also look at SMME finance, health and education finance, child lens investing as well. Thursday, up until 12 o'clock, we are doing impact measurements and management, looking at some of the tools, what is the fundamentals, how are you going to measure and manage for your impact, because that's a key component of impact investing, right? You're intentionally trying to achieve social impact, so you need to make sure you know how you're going to measure that and try and manage for that impact. And so we're also going to look at a case study of what this looks like. Friday, we're going to look at what does it look like for the future, right? How is future going to be defined by us, and how do we then drive more impact going into the future? So this looks at how you can develop impact in ecosystems that's going to help secure the future, but also looking at technologies such as blockchain and AI, as well as levers to drive more social impact on the continent. And then throughout the week, you'll see that there's breakout learning groups. And throughout the week, you are going to be working as groups to actually develop and design an impact fund, which you will then present to the class on the Friday. And it's an incredible time where we just get to see how you've applied all your knowledge that you built up throughout the week. And then on the afternoon, we get to look forward to a closing guest speaker, and then just a time to celebrate you after concluding the course. So with that, I am going to conclude. So that's the course information segment of this information session. And I'm going to hand over to Taryn, who's going to show you how you are able to go and apply for this course. So I'm really hoping at this point you are quite keen and you are got your mouse ready and all your documents. And I don't know how much documents you need, but yeah, I'm really keen for you to join us in the next few weeks. Over to you, Taryn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. I just want to say again, thank you everybody for being here. So I am Taryn and I sit within the Executive Education Unit at the GSB. And we focus on targeted skills-based interventions, which comes in the form of short courses. And so we've been in collaboration with the Bertha Centre, Jason Shaluba, since 2016. So it's been a lovely, long and fruitful collaboration, and just shows the market need and the industry relevance for this course. And so I work across the short course portfolio as the recruitment manager. And as Jason said, hoping that you are ready to apply. So what I want to focus on today is just to show what that application form looks like, and where to navigate, and just what to expect once you have submitted your application form. So I'm going to share my screen. Jason, can you give me a yay? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, Taryn.
Awesome, thank you. All right, perfect. So on the screen, you will see the actual course web page. The link will be shared after this in your communication on email, and we can drop it in the chat as well. But pretty much to actually submit your application, you have to navigate to the web page and click on the apply button. Once you've clicked that, a little pop-up form will come up, which just needs some of your initial information around your name, surname, email, and mobile number. What I do want to highlight here is that your email address is very important. So please do be sure about which email address you want to use for the course moving forward, because that is where we will send most of your communication, but more importantly, it is the identifier of your application. So we've seen, applications come through on like 3 different emails from the same person. And so, yeah, just make sure you know exactly which email address you want to use for your application. So once you have filled up the pop-up form, it will take you to this page over here, which is basically just explaining to keep your application link safely, instructions around the application form. And when you navigate all the way to the bottom, it will state start your journey with UCT GSB. And that is where you will get to the pages that you actually need to fill out. So the application form consists of 6 sections. And the first one is your personal data. And this is where we need to know your name, your surname, your ID, date of birth, etc. What's really important here is that you have an understanding that the name that you insert has to correspond or correlate with your ID or passport that you upload later on. So we've seen some nicknames, some interesting preferred names, and as much as we would love to do that for you, it has to correspond with what's on your ID/passport, because that's the name that's going to appear on your actual certificate. We have had lots of requests where people have asked us, please, can we change to your preferred name or to your nickname? Unfortunately, that's not possible because it is an academic record. And so it goes to the records officers, and later on, should you actually need verification of this qualification, it needs to be in correlation with your ID or passport. So from there, at the bottom, you'll find disability and dietary requirements. This is really just so that we are able to make the experience the best that we can for you. So please do fill it out with intention, especially the catering. If you are vegan or if you have allergies, we need to know that so that we are able to accommodate and welcome you with that in the week. We have had many occasions where delegates haven't actually filled that out intentionally, and they come on to day 1 and they're like, oh, actually I'm vegetarian, and we haven't catered for that. So really do have a think about it and be sure about what you'd like to eat. As Jason mentioned, there will be lots of food, so let it be the food that you would like to consume. Contact information, very important. We do need to get a hold of you on relevant email or telephone number. And your delivery address is simply for when we have, perhaps you have to, we've had occasions where delegates have had to leave on the last day of the course, in the afternoon, and they would not be able to get their certificate, or for whatever reason, maybe your name was spelled wrong on your certificate, and we now need to reprint and send it to you. We need to know where we have to send that to. And then your citizenship status. So that's all part of biometrics. So pretty much this page is all about your personal data, because it does feed into what we need to prepare when you are here, as well as what we may need to do once you have left the course. Awesome. So on we go to section 2 of the application form. This is employment information. This is just asking about your work experience, your management experience, as well as your current employee or current work status. And this is for information or statistics purposes, but it also helps us when we review your application for admission onto the course. Then section 3 is the billing information. This is really important because this is what we use when we have to request your invoice for payment. So we are within a higher education institute, and there are centralized finance teams that support us and will support you with your finance administration for the course, and specifically that invoice procedure. So when you are filling this out and you know that your company or organization is going to be responsible for payment, usually with companies, they need other documentation from us, which we will support you with. And then from our side, what we need is the actual billing contact person, as well as the company VAT number where relevant, and the company registered name. Because once you've invoiced, we've given a tax invoice, it has to be the correct particulars of that organization. The account contact information always has some confusion. Many of you use your own name as the account person, but that may not necessarily be true. So you really have to, once you get to the section and your company is paying, please make a concerted effort to find out who is actually responsible for facilitating that payment for you, whether it's your manager, whether it's an actual finance administrator, learning development team member, whoever it is that's directly involved in actually, sending the money out of the account. That is the person that needs to be in this section. On your invoice, your name will appear as the delegate, but then we need the alternative billing contact person. I stress and highlight this one because your application will be stuck if we don't have this information. And then once you start communicating internally, it does take time for you to get that info. And then, of course, the company physical address, so not a PO box number. We need the actual physical address of your company. If the company is not paying, you would then just click person, and you would put in the relevant person details. Whether you are paying yourself or perhaps another individual is paying on behalf of you, you would then click the person option. We move to the next section of the application form. These are documents that need to be uploaded. The documents that we need is your CV and then your ID or / passport. So basically your identification document. The CV is also really important because that's what gets reviewed during the admissions phase. And again, please be intentional about your CV around it being updated, and your best foot forward. It's best practice to have your CV updated, but it does get reviewed, and from there, your admission status gets sent to you. So please do take care when you are looking at your CV to make sure that is the CV that you want to upload. Then we have the referral section, and this is just information for us. We'd love to know where you heard about the course, and there is a drop-down function that gives you options, but if none of the options apply to you, you would click other. From there, you're at the end. You've reached the end of the application form. This is a statement of integrity. It's just simply stating that what you have inserted in the form is true, and you would agree with the statement above, picking your name, and you are ready to complete your application. Once you've clicked submit, you will actually receive an email that states your application has been submitted successfully and is currently under review. So the review process generally it takes about I'd say 24 to 72 hours depending. And I have a whole team with me. Mainly, her name is Dolene Davidson and then Salima Donnell. So that you'll see them pop up in your inbox, on your phone, on your cell phone, or whichever contact details you had inserted in your application form to support you further with the application process. We would verify your billing details, we would request your invoice, and from there, Dolene will support you specifically with company payment or follow-ups with payment. Salima is the one that will be assisting you with any other questions you may have around the course outside of this information session, or you just need a refresher. She's the one that will be there on the phone or on email if you prefer. I think I've touched on everything. Yes. So yeah, the application form, I hope that's clear. And if you do have questions, my contact details will be shared with you as well. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jason.
Great. Thanks, Taryn. There are just two questions in the chat. One is around the course fee, whether it's inclusive or exclusive of that.
Okay, awesome. It's inclusive of that. So you will not pay anything extra.
Okay, great. And then the other question is the certificate you receive, is it NQF level accreditation or is it just a general certificate?
Sure. So it is a non-credit bearing certificate. So that means no credit will be counted towards that. So a general certificate. However, because we are within a university and specifically a postgrad business school, the level of academic, I want to say build of the course and the content is aligned to an NQF 8. However, you won't receive a credit for that.
Great.
What I
Amazing, thanks.
can add, which I think is important, is once you've attended the course, you will qualify for 40 CPD points, accredited by the Institute of Banks, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a good point. Thanks, Shaluba.
Thanks, Shaluba.
And so, yeah, thanks so much, Taryn. Please do keep the questions coming in the chat as we are going through. If we get to them during the session, we will definitely get to them at the end as well. But with that, I'm going to invite Shaluba, who is, like I mentioned, she is alumni of the course and now co-convener of the course, to introduce our other alumni from 2023. Over to you, Shaluba.
Thank you so much, Jason. Really appreciate that. Thanks, Taryn, for the overview. I think a warm welcome to everyone who's joined the call. We're excited to see all the different names, not as many faces that we're seeing, but Pierre, we see you and we acknowledge you for putting your video on. Yeah, I think what we thought would be great as part of the info session is to really get an alumni who's been through the program. I was an alumni. I attended the course in 2016. I think that was the first year of the course, and Taryn, yeah, you could share more details of that. I think throughout the week, if you do attend the course, you'll be hearing a lot from myself and Jason. More than happy to share my journey and what led me to then, end up as being a co-convener on the course. I run an organization called Siama Impact Partners, which we describe as an impact advisory and boutique asset management business, currently fundraising for an impact fund. It's a gender lens impact fund. We'll go into gender lens on the program. We've got some really exciting commitments in the fund. And so, yeah, we've got a team behind us, but also really passionate about education around impact investing within our African ecosystem. So with no further ado, we're so pleased that we could have Ntando joining us today. She's got a really interesting and really exciting journey. And I think what we're starting to see from some of the applications is people who are really wanting to come into the space, not sure how to get to it, not sure what to do. And we really believe that the course is like a good gateway into the space of impact investing. It is a very comprehensive program that we do offer. It is week-long. And so Ntando is joining us. She is a program lead for entrepreneurship in schools at the Ellen and Jill Gray Philanthropies. Ntando, if you can maybe share a lot more about your journey, your experience on the course, the journey you took. I think what was interesting is the pivots, but also the investment you made. And yeah, any other thing that you think would be helpful for people who are thinking about the course, maybe aren't too sure, maybe aren't too convinced. Yeah, you've got 10 minutes, so please feel free to share as much as possible and be very honest.
No, thank you so much, Shuluba. Thank you, Jason, and everybody. You forgot to mention that, and for people that are very curious, because I think that's what led me to the course as well. Hi, everybody on the call. My name is Ndandi Nkosi Kunene, and I'm a program lead at the Ellen and Jill Gray Philanthropies, which I always describe as a beautiful marriage of my passion for education and entrepreneurship. It just came so well together when I took up that role. But just to take you back a little to my journey in terms of where it all started, I don't know if you had a chance to maybe pop into my LinkedIn and see my about bio, but it really does say I'm an impact queen. And the reason why I say that is because I've got a background in pageantry. And what that means is that I've been exposed and have seen a lot of what would you call charity work, doing good and so forth. So that's where my passion started. It was just around that journey. So from I was a very young girl to later on in my life when I then did Miss South Africa, which was a big platform. From there onwards, I think even during my reign, the question that I had for myself was, surely we can do something bigger than what we're doing now. And not saying that in terms of looking down on what other organizations are doing in terms of feeding schemes and so forth. But for me, it was just about the sustainable aspect of it, the long-term impact of it, and also how do we get people to commit to long-term change and systematic change. So that's where it all started. And then I went on to study. I'm a teacher by profession. After doing my teaching, I went into banking. Those questions you can ask outside in terms of how did that happen? I went into banking. After banking, I went into public relations in another organization that dealt with the regulation of alcohol and gambling. And then I went into doing my own thing afterwards, which was in 2020. And we had our own consulting firm, which was around education and education solutions. So when I did my MBA, that was great. But after that, I was really, really interested, particularly in this one course that I did. And I thought to myself, this is something I actually want to explore more. And I don't know how I actually found the impact investing course, but when I saw it first, I thought, oh, I don't have such a strong background in finance. So when I first saw investing, I'm like, oh, that has a lot to do with finances, and I'm not that type of girl. And so I inquired. I think we did have an info session as well. And then I went into it. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I had never heard of it before, mind you. It was the first time when I truly just immersed myself in this world of how best do we give back, but for long term, how best do we give back and make changes that are more systematic and not just for immediate relief, right? And then I went into the course that even was more amazing, just as a person that is curious on certain things and wanting to know how do we get organizations to do good? How do we get ourselves to do good? One thing that was a takeaway from the course for me was, well, actually two speakers, Shiluba. It was that lady from Sanlam, one, and then the second one was, I think it was Dr. Is it not France or something? I can't remember. But yes. So they both spoke about completely different things, but what it ignited in me is how impact investing actually fits into everything. It's not particularly just for it's because when we think impact investing, we're often thinking just education and just what do you call things that we hear more about, whereas it's so much more broader than that. Yes, that's the one, Dr. Frank, yes. Dr. Frank, yes. And it also, what his talk specifically did for me was it brought back to how we can simplify impact investing into our personal lives and the things that are around us. For instance, he spoke about how an actual church can be, a place where impact investing can actually happen in terms of church funds and so that was really interesting. I'm like, geez, this thing actually fits into quite a few areas in our lives. And then also the lady from Sanlam spoke about a low-cost housing project I think they were doing as well, and how she got to that being approved, and to see people being passionate about things and then getting the funds to also be as compassionate as the course as well. So that was my biggest takeaway. Never mind the networks that I got from there, which are people I still even work with today. Actually, we had a meeting today with one of the people I met at the Impact Investing course because we're trying to collaborate on certain things. And then in terms of how that whole learning for me and that curiosity led me to where I am now was when we are working with schools and when we are working with basic education, we should often not look at it as, okay, we're just looking at, okay, we'll just provide food or provide shoes and so forth. But how do we change the system in terms of what kind of learner does the system produce? That should be the question that we should be asking ourselves. So it changes even the questions that you ask, it changes things like, okay, what more is possible around this? How do the decisions we make an impact on both people and the planet and the funds, and so forth, and thinking about change in a more broader, sustainable way. And so now when often we meet, we're actually in our strategy week, and we're thinking about, okay, how do we produce, for instance, learning environments that are conducive to entrepreneurial activity, because we've got such a high unemployment rate in South Africa. I mean, there are different stakeholders doing things at different spaces. But how is it that we are answering a bigger question in terms of we should be able to capacitate our learners to have what do you call entrepreneurial competency, so they're able to go out and start something, just for them to have a dignified life. And with that is also thinking, how best then do we channel our funds into things that we are able to account and say, this is how much we've put in, but also what is the ROI that is sustainable and makes such a huge change in the entire system, and not just in small scale, as much as we start in a small scale, but the dream is always big. So that's how it fits into that. And I think just whenever I think about my journey into impact investing, into this world of philanthropy and so forth, it is curiosity that led me here, but a broader curiosity of how do I ask the right questions, and what are those questions and what change do they bring about? Because at the end of the day, that impact investing aspect is around how do we make the world a better place? I know it sounds like, oh, it sounds like world peace, right? But it goes so much broader than that. And if you go to my bio, I actually expand on it to say, yes, some people might say world peace doesn't matter, but if you think about it, it's systems of the world. If systems did better, if our money did better, the world would possibly be a much more peaceful place than it currently is. So my journey has been very interesting. I don't regret doing this course. Actually, I'm glad I found it somewhere, wherever I did, and the connections that I made, but most importantly, the learnings that came out of it, just from an aspect of how do we ask better questions in terms of how do we do good in a way, and how do we channel funds and make them more compassionate. That's how I'd call it. So my parting words would be, for anyone that is curious, or for anyone that wants to make a pivot, or even if you're already in the space and you are just wanting to ask better questions, I think that's the most important thing, to say, okay, how do we ask better questions?
I agree. And Dando, thank you so much for that share. We're always so amazed when alumni reflect on their big takeaways, their big learnings. I think everyone's journey is so unique, and yeah, it's been such an honor, especially given that you don't come from a traditional finance background. And so to have taken so much, but also have allowed the pivot is so great to watch. And yeah, I think thank you so much. I have nothing further. I know we have 10 minutes for questions and answers. I think Ntando is with us till the top of the hour. So if there are any additional questions, please do feel free to pop them in the chat or put your hand up. We do have about 9 minutes for questions. Any clarifications, we are more than happy to address some of those. Thanks again, Ntando. Really appreciate the share.
Thank you so much, Shiluba.
It seems like there aren't any questions. I don't know if people are very comfortable with what was shared. Someone had asked, I think, around the pricing, and I was hoping Ntando would touch a bit on that. I think Ntando, similar to me, it was like a personal investment that we'd made, and it was probably one of the best investments.
I can totally touch it, Shiluba. Sorry about that. Yes,
No
it
worries.
was. Yeah, it was a personal investment for me. It wasn't something that was paid by a corporate or anything like that. Actually, at that time, would you believe that I was still looking for work that would fit into what I actually want to do. So I was very particular at that time. And this was one of those investments that I made to say, okay, this possibly will then open that door into that world.
Thanks, Ntando. And yeah, I think my journey is the same. I'd kind of left my job at the JSC and then thought I really want to do this course. And it was the best money spent at the time. This is 9 years ago. And I think we continue to reap the fruits of that. So if people are feeling like it might be a bit pricey, is it worth doing? I would definitely, and maybe I'm a bit biased at the moment, but I think Ntando is coming in as an independent view. I see, Siko, you've got a hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Shiluba, and thanks, Ntando, Kosi, for sharing that personal experience. I think most of us resonate with the sentiment and all the things that you shared. I just want to check if, for instance, the requirements in terms of application requires one to have some sort of prior qualification, or is this open to anyone without a qualification? Because I'm assuming that not everyone has got. You mentioned NQF. This is NQF level 8, so I would assume that for you to apply for such, you then need NQF level 7, right? Or is this open to anyone and everyone? Thanks.
Thanks, Siko. Maybe I can share a bit on that. So I think, like as Ntando said, like yeah, even if you're curious, you wanting to pivot into this space, do apply. We do have a look through the CV. We have a look at kind of your experience, your qualifications, and see if you are a good fit. But we are also open to, yeah, if you're looking to move into the space, looking to build a career and wanting to learn more about impact investing. So if we have a look at your CV and just feel it's like there may not be a good fit, what we may do is just request a motivation, just to see what your heart is and then what you hope to get out of the course. And then more likely or not, after that motivation, we would invite you to then join the course. So we really do not want to exclude anyone or say that you have to have certain qualifications or experience. But it is something we do look at just to make sure that there's a good fit between the delegates and then the cohorts as well. But we are really just trying to also open doors and opportunities for those who are wanting to join the program. So I think that's the heart of our team as well. So please do not let that stop you if you do not feel you have a certain level of qualification or experience. Do apply, and then we may just request a motivation from you just to learn a little bit more about you and why you would want to come on the course.
All right, no, thanks, Justin. Thanks.
Any other questions from the audience or people who've joined the info session? Maybe something that wasn't clear that we could clarify?
Go
ahead,
thanks.
Priya.
Okay. No, thanks, Shilova, and thanks, Ntando, for such a comprehensive presentation. Maybe just following on some of the, this might be a question in part for you, Ntando, as well as Shilova and the team. I just want to get a sense of if you do guys have that idea of where have been the career pathways that the alumni of this course have have gone into, or as in some of the doorways that have been opened up, particularly for those who are pivoting, who may have been new to the investment space, that you, in your assessment, is one of the this particular program has been instrumental in opening that particular door for such kind of alumni. Maybe you, Shilova, and the team might have some insights on that. But also, Ntando, you can come in here because you mentioned that you're still collaborating more actively with some of the alumni that side. Maybe you also have a little bit more of, up-to-date market information that's related to the market. Any thoughts on that for somebody who is looking at enrolling into this course outside of gaining a deeper understanding in the world of impact investing? Which other pathways, which other doors can this particular program open for you? Thank you.
Thanks, Priya, for that question. I'll maybe start and we can hand it over to the rest of the team on Ntando. I think the nice thing about the course, and Jason touched on it earlier, is it's the only impact investing executive program on the continent. So in the ways in which we do the course. So it's a week long. There's other, I guess, competing courses, one at Oxford and one at LSE, but they come at a price point of £7,000, which is just under 200,000 Rand. And so what I've seen from a market perspective is oftentimes with a lot of impact institutions, organizations, this is like a good certificate to have because you're almost demonstrating you spent a week really gaining a better understanding around the impact course. And so I think from a credibility perspective, it definitely is like one of the key area certificates from a credibility perspective. I do think a lot of people go into different fields and do different things. And yeah, I'm happy for Ntando and maybe Jason, Taryn, and them to share a bit more. What we also try cover in the course is what are some of those pathways? So, where are the opportunities? I think so much is changing in this landscape. Jason spoke about impact measurement. We spend a whole day on impact measurement because it's this complex, fragmented area, but there is a lot of work that needs to happen in that space. So if you think around, for example, regulation, I think in many markets, what is regulation going to look like? I think when I did the intro, I spoke about the lack of products. So how do we think about new products, new solutions, new innovations, new instruments? What do those look like? When you think about, for example, there's now, different things happening in the space, as an foundation, for example, if you're thinking around sustainability. So there is a lot of like new thinking, new mindset, a lot of thought leadership that is happening. I get like very passionate about the space. So let me maybe hand over to Ntando. And then Jason, you can maybe close us out. I know we're at time.
I think I will jump on the one in terms of career pathways and then Jason. But I think I always say with any kind of certification or any degree that you have, it's really what you make of it and where you put that kind of degree or certificate to use, right? And when you're looking at the impact investing space, I would actually say, now that I think about it, Priya, is that, say, for instance, after the course, maybe you were a lawyer or something. I actually got a message now on LinkedIn of a lawyer that wants to also pivot, but you are wanting now to go into a different space, is that you can go into foundations, you can go into CSI and so forth, but it is great to have this course from a thinking perspective. so that when you are going into these spaces, you're coming in with a different lens of how better can we do the work that we do, and how better is it that we can channel funds in more sustainable ways. I like the comment where someone was saying something about it's important for government employees, and I'd say, yes, it's definitely true. It's definitely true that even in those sectors, impact investing will provide such a lens of saying, we can do better with the funds that are available. It just needs a lot of thinking. So on that one, it's just a matter of taking the certification, going into either a philanthropic company, a foundation, or a CSI, but it's just having that lens of thinking differently about the funds that are at your disposal.
No, thanks very much for that, Tando and Shiloba. Very interesting insights. I see out of time, but maybe I got one last question that might be Jason might be able to advise on this. In your explanation of NQF accreditation, you did indicate that it's equivalent to NQF level 8, but it's not graded as such. Are there any intentions in the future to get this course, perhaps having that full NQF level 8 accreditation? And if so, are there indicative timelines?
Sure. Chris, yeah, quite a question. I think, yeah, I'm not fully aware of the process of that and what that involves. I think Taryn will probably be more aware of that. But I think just in terms of this course and the content, it has got incredible quality. And what we have tried to do at the Bertha Centre is integrate some of this teachings and that into some of the programs that are run. So the M4 program for inclusive innovation at the Graduate School of Business, the MBA program, we do have an elective that also covers some of this content. So we are slowly trying to make this content and the topic of impact investing more prominent within some of the degrees and qualifications at University of Cape Town. But this 5-day course is really, you get a lot. Like you get everything you need in this 5 days, whereas you wouldn't be able to get that in some of the other programs. But I do not have an answer to your question around us getting this qualified to that. And it's probably something I'll pick up with Taryn and see what the process is, if it is even possible. But thank you, Priya, for that as well. So I am going to conclude here. Just thank you, everyone. Please do reach out to Taryn's team. If you've got any questions, they will also relay that to me and Shaluba if it's something that we would need to answer around the course. But thank you so much for joining and staying here even till 3 minutes after. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.